What's going on? Oh, what's going on, buddy? My stuff's getting laggy. It's getting laggy and glitchy. What the heck? It's like someone's in there like doing a double overlay with my camera or something. Wouldn't surprise me. Let me see. There we go. Anyway, let me see. We'll start off with ergotism. Poisoning produced by eating food affected by ergot, typically resulting in headache, vomiting, diarrhea, and gangrene of the fingers and toes. You know what? Someone I know keeps telling me that they keep getting this black on the bottom of their toes, and it's kind of weird. So I've actually, and when I'm out, foraging and looking for hiking, I look at grass and I do see these little black pods inside the grass seed. Ergotism is an effect of a long-term ergot poisoning, traditionally due to the ingestion of the alkaloids produced by the Claviceps pluria fungus, from the Latin noun clava, meaning club. There is spasms, diarrhea, mania. Okay, look, grasses, okay? Anyway, but look, there's a lot of products, man, like that could be infected with the ergotism. Like, for instance, like milk. Milk could probably get infected with it because the cows eat the grass, or goat milk, or lamb chops, stuff like that, because could get infected with this stuff. And also from any kind of products that they use from grain, if they crush grain into some kind of a flour, into some kind of maybe oil, or some kind of other kind of industrial products. There may be other ways that it could get into our system and cause effects. A toxic condition produced by eating grain products, look, cereal for instance, such as rye bread, or grasses infected with ergot fungus by chronic excessive use of an ergot drug. Experts know that those symptoms are common among people with convulsive ergotism or ergot poisoning, which is caused by fungus that can grow on wheat, rye, and other similar grains. Origins of vampire, zombie, werewolves, and more spooky characters. Okay, so let me back up, see what for it. Okay, we'll go back to, now we'll go like this. Ergotism. And we'll go, this is tied up into a kind of lot of stuff. We'll just go, we'll say, we'll go historical events. Documented epidemics of ergotism occurred frequently in the Middle Ages, 500 to 1500. Now known to be caused by eating ergot contaminated rye bread, resulting in the deaths of tens of thousands of people. It was most common in those colder, damp areas of Europe that were highly dependent on rye as a food source. So recently in Michigan, dude, it has been so cold and dark, and I've been saying this for I've said this before on my channel, that there's more fungus. Like, you'll see more mold, you'll see more mushrooms, you'll see more like like literally the decomposition of stuff, because sunlight kills fungus. So because they've been doing climate engineering, and they've been trying to globally dim and cool the planet, that they may be actually setting us up for a plague of this ergot situation here. It's deep. Here we go. Let me see. Let's see what they say on this one. Whoa, that thing just moved all on its own. It just took off. Ergot is a small grain disease caused by a fungal pathogen. And actually, listen, this actually is a parasitic fungus. Fungus is a parasite. It can cause sicknesses. And look, no one talks about fungus sicknesses. Why not? It's so uncommon to speak about, but look, it's like, look, it's kind of an elephant in the room, so to speak. Like it's a little tiny elephant, but if you like sweeped it all up, it'd be like a big giant mountain of little like dusty dark particles of grossness that are just flying around everywhere. Anyway, disease is caused by a fungal pathogen. And also, pause that for a second. I would also like to note, in that book, The Serpent and the Rainbow, it said all the zombie maker poisoners, you could tell they were coming around because you could smell fungus in the air, because they always were digging up dead bodies to get components for their potions. Anyway, the word ergot is derived from the French word argot, meaning spur. The term can also refer to the sclerotia structures resembling a rooster spur that form within a grain head after the infection and displacing the developing seed. These dark brown to black structures are simply masses of fungal hyphal tissue containing toxic chemicals that can cause disease. Ergotism in animals if ingested. This is one of the few plant diseases that also can cause direct damage to humans. Ergotism is characterized by a host of symptoms, depending on specific chemicals involved. Some of the more common symptoms include tremors, delusions, prickling sensations on skin, convulsing, seizures, hallucination, and violent muscle spasms. The plant disease is favored by severely cold winters, followed by cool, wet growing season, and historically has occurred more commonly in areas highly dependent on rye for sustenance, although all cereal crops are vulnerable. Pause. If all cereal crops are vulnerable, so then would also like be beer. Beer could be, ergot could be passed through beer. And it would seem, and I mean, who knows what other products could get kind of a similar type of a fungal infection, and it could pass it on to us and give us adverse reactions. Anyway, dependent on rye for sustenance, although all cereal crops are vulnerable, rye is more susceptible than other cereals due to the flowers being open pollinated and staying open longer, thus remaining exposed for longer periods of time. Ergot epidemics date back to the Middle Ages and likely before. Ergot has been known for millennia but was not recognized as causing health issues until about 200 years ago. For example, a Syrian tablet dating to 600 BC mentions noxious pustules on grains of seeds. Documenting epidemics of ergotism occurred frequently in the Middle Ages, now known to be caused by eating ergot-contaminated rye bread, resulting in the death of tens of thousands of people. It was most common in those colder, damp areas of Europe that were highly dependent on rye as a food source. This region extended through Central and Eastern Europe, the chief rye-growing areas. It was rare in the United Kingdom, where rye is not consumed as much, and the climate is less favorable for ergot development. In our earlier Panhandle Perspectives column, I wrote about the opposite, with the supposition of ergot's role in causation of the conduct of the witchcraft trials throughout Europe and colonial America. However, the disease has also been attributed to influencing other events in world history. The French Revolution. One of the events leading to the French Revolution was referred to as the Great Fear. This event was generalized by a general panic in the population, resulting in a mob mentality, violence, and riots from July 17th to August 3rd in 1789. Grain yields were very poor that year, with widespread shortages expected, and rumors of war swept through the villages that bandits were about to seize what was left of the year's grain harvest. In response to these rumors, the fearful peasants throughout the rural provinces mobilized, took up arms, and attacked and looted their overlords' manors. The reason for this spontaneous mass hysteria remains a puzzle today. Historian Mary K. Matsonian argued that one of the causes of the Great Fear was the consumption of grain contaminated with the ergot fungus. In years of good harvest, grain contaminated with ergot was discarded, but when the harvest was poor, there was little other option for food. Thus, a severe ergot epidemic may have affected the mental state of the French peasants, thereby contributing to the French Revolution of 1789. Demographic depression, 1750 to 1850. Matsonian also contended that ergot food poisoning enhanced by climate dietary changes also played a role in population depression in certain countries. For example, rye consumption in France compared to wheat eating in England. Fertility and mortality records showed steady growth in England with more erratic and gradual growth in France. Records also provide strong evidence that fertility suppression was greater in France during this period, with the decreased birth rates and increased infant mortality. As the British people became less dependent upon rye, they conceived more children while suffering fewer infant deaths during the summer months of July to September. Furthermore, during the first half of the 19th century, the summers in England were not warm enough for adequate ergot development, while warmer France conditions were better for ergot development. Thus, it was now postulated that both fortunate weather conditions and a dietary preference towards wheat over rye allowed higher growth rates in England by reducing ergotism. Effects on war. It is possible that ergot may also be responsible for Russia's lack of a warm weather seaport. In 1772, the Russian Tsar Peter the Great tried to capture several water ports on the Black Sea from Turkey. His soldiers were stopped at Askharan, a city in southern Russia located on Volga River Delta, where it empties into the Caspian Sea due to an ergot epidemic. They obtained hay for their horses and bread for themselves derived from ergot-infected rye bread. Both man and beast were affected, destroying their ability to battle the Turks, and they were forced to retreat. Okay, there's some references right here. Interesting. Let's see what else we can find. Let's check this out real quick. Ergotism is a worldwide problem with the predisposing weather conditions frequently occurring in the northern Great Plains and the northwestern regions of the United States. Alkaloids, toxic injury, protein, fungus, ergot, alkaloid, ergotamine, toxicity, gangrene, mycotoxins, treatment in a fescue toxicosis. The key to successful treatment of ergotism in animal species is early recognition of the clinical signs. Ergotism is rare in human populations, but most likely is undiagnosed in animals. Most logical approach to managing ergotism is removal animals from the source of the ergopeptine alkaloids. The early signs of ergotism are often reversible, with cutaneous vascular effects of the ergopeptine alkaloids usually subsiding shortly after removal from contaminated pastures, hay, grains, or processed feeds. See, that's another way it can get to us, because through the hay, also, that's passed around to different animals, it could potentially get cross-contaminated back to us other ways that way too, I'd imagine. The treatment of more severe cases of ergotism and its sequela in cattle, horses, and other animals should follow the therapeutic approaches outlined for fescutoxosis. And I also seen dogs can get it, because dogs go out there and eat grass too when their stomach hurts. So I watched this other video where it was about how a whole town in France all freaking went insane simultaneously. And come to find out, it was this freaking ergot contamination. But they were saying that this was like in 1951. So were they saying that it's possible that it was an LSD experiment test in France? And I was like, that sounds like something they would do, like with the Operation Paperclip Nazi. Ergotism is caused by claviceps in cereal grains, rye, and is the oldest known mycotoxin. Mold in the feed replaces grain with a hard black mass called an ergot. Ergotism killed thousands in the Middle Ages. St. Anthony's fire. It produces alkaloids. Toxins affect the nervous, vascular, vasoconstriction, and resultant gangrene, and endocrine systems. Clinical sides include decreased food intake and growth, necrosis of beak, comb, toes, distorted feather development, and enteritis. Ergotism primarily affects leghorns and other laying breeds only, and trace amounts remain in the meat. See? Trace amounts remain in the meat. Mycotoxin toxicology. Encyclopedia Food Science. Ergotism is a human disease that results from the consumption of ergot body and rye and other grains infected by parasitic fungus. See that? Parasitic fungus. Fungus is a parasite. Duh. Wow. I mean, like, look. And look, a lot of funguses can cause, like, schizophrenic-like conditions where people feel like they're being touched by something or their skin's crawling, and it can cause mild hallucinations, mild distortions of reality, and other effects, like strange effects. So it's really a dark, mildewy, wet, stanky of a kind of a funky type of it's also like a wheat amongst the tares. This is literally a tare amongst the wheat. Inside of the wheat itself, there's this little thing sneaks in there, and if you just get too much of it, the dosage too high of this stuff, it causes freaking all kinds of bad effects on the body and the mind. Anyway, of the genus claviceps, two types of ergotism have been documented. In the convulsive type, affected persons have general convulsions and tingling sensation in the muscles, such as the feeling of one's foot going to sleep. So you're going to have like a kind of a bad circulation, look, chemically induced, nutrient ingested induced, or no, it's alkaloids. It's a chemical induced reaction that causes the lack of proper blood flow. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes the entire body is racked by spasms. Epidemics occurred between 1581 and 1928 in European and other countries. Although it has been suggested that the consumptions of ergots that cause convulsive ergotism may play some role in Salem witchcraft. I want to pause again. See, This is a reason also why you can't be a solely vegetarian diet, because it's not meant to. It's not meant to, look. No food is meant to be an all day, everyday staple food. It's just, look, things are gonna have good years, and then they're gonna have bad years, and maybe sometimes a bad year, it's a good year just to let it go back to nature for a while, and then come back, and so you don't use up the land. Anyway, so I don't know, man. It's there's a lot of ethical questions that are brought up about production of agriculture and all that, and how we conduct ourselves with the planet and with the stuff that we got to use, stuff to take into consideration. And since none of us are actually farmers, we're not looking for ergot, but farmers probably know what they're looking at when they see it, and they're like, oh man, that's poison. But anyway, they make LSD out of this stuff. Anyway, although been suggesting that consumption of ergots cause convulsive ergotism may play a role in Salem witchcraft incident. So, and listen, if you took this stuff and gave it to someone, or intentionally poisoned their crops with ergot mold, you sprayed it out of a plane, put it in a chemtrail or something, dude, look, that would be devastating. And I bet you could add this to the list. I bet you Nazi Germany probably had some ergot in some of their staples. You know what I'm talking about? Now in retrospect. And here's the thing. That's funny, because in the 60s, they just synthesized the compounds in the ergot and gave it to all the hippies in the eightful eds, type people, the ed heads. This is still a controversial issue. In the gangrenous type, the affected parts become swollen and inflamed with violent burning pains, hence the term fire of St. Anthony. The affected area become numb first, turned black, then shrank, and finally became mummified and dry. And listen, this to me sounds like the plagues. The thing, the same thing that they call the plague sounds to me like this is one form of a plague, where they say the rats caused the one plague, but maybe at the same exact time, the rats are out there consuming products with the gangrene on it, or the gangrenous ergot. Maybe it's because look, when the France village that all went insane, it even said the dogs went insane, and the animals were acting weird. And it was just like yesterday, we seen turkeys sitting at a freaking gas station, like right on the east side, right over there by it's over by Stewart, the 475 exit there at Stewart. Anyway, weird. It says that even the animals act weird. All the grass-eating animals, they're going to have strange behavior. It's even shown that they can be infected. Okay, outbreaks occurred from the Middle Ages up to the 19th century. In some areas of France, grain contained as much as 25% ergots. Wow. Patients died as a result of the consumption of 100 grams of ergot over a few days. In general, 2% ergots in grain is sufficient to cause an epidemic. Between 1770 and 1771, about 8,000 people died. See, that would be a plague. And literally, they swell up and they get gangrene and their freaking limbs fall off. That's pretty freaking bad. 8,000 people died in one district alone in France. European and other countries have a regulatory limit of 0.1 to 0.2% ergots in flour. Ergotisms result from the intoxication of ergoline alkaloids that are produced by the fungus present The fungus present in the sclerotia of the clavis purpurea, the most active compounds of the amidites of the D-lysergic acid, including both silylylic type peptide and non-peptide amide ergot alkaloids. These alkaloids cause smooth muscle contraction, block neurohormones, and have both vasoconstriction and vasodilation effects, and also affect the central nervous system. Thus, they have some therapeutic uses. Yeah, this is more animal. Let me see, more animal related.
God, it just keeps on getting good, don't it?
Strangulation trauma to the distal limbs.
Don't take my... Oops.
Wow, there's a lot of little side little thing here. Tobacco. Okay, here we go. Let's go like this.
What is it?
Look, okay, so this stuff also can cause, there's what it looks like right here again. Look, wow. Look, now they're saying also that ergotism is what gave the Renaissance painters the ability to paint these freaking crazy, and that's so funny because I started making memes off of these type of medievalish Renaissance paintings. I want to see if it looked like it had a picture of it. Let's see. Yep, there it is. Look, you know what? I'm gonna try to go out and freaking find this out in the wild. I'm gonna see if I can find some. I'm pretty sure that I have. Damn. Related genius. Claviceps. C. purpurea. Man, what did that do? Lectins. Dale was saying that these things basically are lectins that get inside of our guts and cause tears in them. And he says they add them into the food-like substances that we're eating. So maybe there's a connection there, but the Geoglossum species of the order Heliotialis. Hold on. On soil. Whoa. On soil or on decaying. Where's this at? Decaying wood. Ooh. Wow. So there are more types of this stuff. If it says it grows on decaying wood as well. So let me see. Ergot, a fungal disease of cereal grasses, is caused by fungus Claviceps purpurea, which produces active chemicals containing heterocyclic compounds known as indole alkaloids. I wonder if they could take these things and like add them, like look and make a beer out of them that like would really jack you up. Yeah, they make like a beer.
God, probably.
Ooh, there's some more of this.
They're fucking
See,
horrible.
and I'm not even joking. These funguses, I see so many more funguses in the past few years since the cooling down and the dimming down. I mean, this isn't what I was looking up right now. Let, let me try this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, wasn't it? Oh, there it was. Ergot fungi refers to a group of fungi of the genus Claviceps. Most prominent members of the group, Claviceps purpurea. This fungus grows on rye-related plants and produces alkaloids that can cause ergotism in humans and other mammals who consume the grains contaminated with its fruiting structure. There we go. This is the one I was looking for. Oh wow, it shows a bunch of different kind of ergots, don't it? Ergot or ergot fungi refers to a group of fungi in the genus Claviceps. Okay, where's this lysergic acid at? Ooh. Okay, right here. Claviceps include about 50 known species, mostly in tropical regions. Economically significant species include C. purpurea, parasitic on grasses and cereals. C. fusiformis on pearl millet, buffalo grass. C. paspepali on Dallas grass. C. africana on sorghum. And C. lutea on paspalalum. And C. purpurea most commonly affects outcrossing species such as rye. It is most common host as well as triticale and wheat and barley, and affects oats only rarely. See, but look, if you have the right conditions, I'd imagine a lot of plants that don't get it might be able to still get the same fungus, or I'd imagine maybe a fungus kind of waxes and wanes in strengths depending on the conditions in the environment. Maybe it can cross jump into other stuff, like, and we can get it in ways that we normally wouldn't get it before. Very interesting, very freaking scary. C. purpurea has at least 3 races or varieties which differ in their host specifically. G1, land grasses of open meadows and fields. That's the type of stuff I'm going to go find down at the Frisbee Golf. Grasses from moist forest and mountain habitations. G3, purpurea and spartania, salt marsh grasses, Spartalina dischilis. Look at that long-term effect. Okay, let me see. Let's see if it. Ooh. Okay. Let me see what this says. An ergot kernel called a sclerotium develops when a spore of a fungi species of a new genus, or the genus Claviceps, infects the flowering of a flowering grass or cereal. The infection process mimics a pollen grain growing into an ovary during fertilization. Infection requires that the fungal spore have access to the stigma. Consequently, plants infected with Claviceps are mainly outcrossing species with open flowers such as rye, Secale cereale, and ryegrasses, genus Lolium. The proliferating fungal mycelium then destroys the plant ovary and connects with the vascular bundle originally intended for seed nutrition. The first stage of ergot infection manifests itself as a white soft tissue known as spacialia, producing sugary honeydew, which often drips out of the infected grass florets. That's kind of like when a dude catches the clap. This honeydew contains millions of asexual spores, Candidia, which insects disperse into other florets. Later, the spacilia convert into a hard, dry sclerotium inside the husk of the floret. At this stage, alkaloids and lipids accumulate on the sclerotium. Claviceps species from tropic, subtropic regions of macro and microcondidia and their honeydew macrocondidia differ in shape and size between spaces, wherein microcondidia are rather uniform, oval to globose, and mitochondria are able to produce secondary condidia. A germ tube emerges from the microcondidium through the surface of the honeydew drop, and the secondary condidium of an oval to a pearl-like shape is formed, to which the contents of the original macrocondidium migrates. Secondary condid form a white frost-like substance on the honeydew drops and spreads via the wind. No such process occurs in Claviceps purpurea, Claviceps goperhoi, and Claviceps nigericans, and Claviceps zizziani, and from the northern temperate regions. When a mature scrototium drops to the ground, the fungus remains dormant until proper conditions, such as the onset of a spring or rain period, trigger the fruiting phase. It germinates, forming one of several fruiting bodies with heads and stripes, variously colored and resembling tiny mushroom in the head. Like thread-like sexual spores form, which are ejected simultaneously when suitable grass hosts are flowering. Ergot infection causes reduction in the yield and quality of grain and hay, and if livestock eat infected grain, it may cause a disease called ergotism. Black protruding sclerotia of the C. purpurea are well known, and many topical ergots have brown or grayish sclerotia mimicking the shape of the host seed. For this reason, the infections is often overlooked. Insects, including flies, moths, carry Candidia of Claviceps species, but it is unknown whether insects play a role in spreading fungus from infected to healthy plants. Bam! It's a freaking carrier of the fungal. Yeah, man, this fungal's tricky, man. Like fungal literally is a part of the death cycle of converting dead things into or living things that are newly dead things into, like, just, it's part of the breakdown process. So you don't want the living stuff that is alive around this, the mold that's for decomposition of the stuff that's, stuff that is dead. It falls to the ground. That's why, most of the stuff comes from the ground. But at certain times it turns into dust and it flies around just like the pollen, and it literally is in competition for the pollen sacs in flowers and grasses and stuff. So very interesting, very interesting. It's another kind of wheat and tear kind of a thing. Like literally, the fungus is coming, hijacking another plant, and it's using it as a cocoon to evolve into another type of thing. And it's in plants that we eat and animals eat, as if this evil creeping substance is changed. It's alchemizing, like alchemy. It's turning from the dirt getting into the grass, getting into the meat, getting into us, killing us, so that we fall down and end up back down in the in the dirt to be consumed by the more mold. Freaking interesting. It's really crazy, really crazy. But for now, I'm gonna go PFR pending further research for now, and hope you enjoy this.